I often get asked on the channel which is the best out of these ready-to-fly brushed micro quadcopters, and the answer is they're all pretty good. I think for me personally the QX95 came the closest, apart from that camera issue that I had where it had the tadpole artifacts on it. But the truth is though, everyone has got their own idea of what the perfect setup is. So I always come back to this answer, which is you have to go the custom route. Now I know a lot of people don't have the time and therefore they buy these RTF micro quadcopters, and that's fair enough. They are all really good. But what I'm going to do today is pick a set of components that are perfect for me, and I have some new components to check out as well. The first one is this frame kit here. Now this is the Crook 110 from Rotorius FPV. Now my friend Alex put me in contact with the owner of Rotorius FPV. His name is Jack, and he has sent me this frame to check out, and I hear it's pretty good, so I'm looking forward to building that with this. So let's just see what you get in this frame here. So we get this little business card here, it's quite nice. Then on the back here it's got the website, where to buy this stuff from. And there's also a Facebook group as well. I'll put a link in the description to that because they've got quite the community over there, which is good for helping out. We have this sticker, we all love stickers, don't we? It says FPV Illuminati, excellent. And then we have got the frame in here, so it's a carbon fiber frame. We've got a rubber band there for the battery, and you can see we have got 3 holes here, and that is for this guy in here. So this is a camera holder for one of those all-in-one cameras. It's actually flexible, so it's 3D printed, and this is to put your camera in. And I got the version for the TX02. So this is that 200 milliwatt all-in-one camera, and that just slots in there like that and then screws on the top of the frame really easily, so that's nice. Also got 2 sets of standoffs in there, different lengths and screws, so that's pretty cool. Also, then we've got these motor mounts here for 8mm motors, and they are 3D printed, and it's got a solution for the wire. Can you see there we've got a hole that comes out there, and then those just screw onto the frame. Got some screws in there too. Really nice package this. Then we've got some extra rubber bands as well, which always go down well. So next, I want to talk about the motors, and this is a problem with these RTF micro quads, is we never really know what motors are on them because they aren't documented. See, when you go the custom route, you can go and buy the best motors, and supposedly these are some of the best motors. You can also get these from Rotorius FPV as well. These are Spintech motors, the 8mm set with JST connectors. However, I think I might be cutting off the connectors so that I can save some weight. We'll have to see when I do that in the build. And then we have the flight controller over here, and this is a fantastic update to the F3 Evo brushed flight controller. Alex again advised me of this flight controller. So it's got a built-in frsky receiver which works in D8 mode, and they also have a flysky version as well. This is going to save a lot of time and also weight as well, importantly. So you can solder all your motors there, and you're given a micro lossy connector. Now I know a lot of people are using JST connectors because you get slightly more current through the cables there, so you might get a little bit more power through your motors, but I don't have any batteries that have any of the JST connectors that are one cell, so I'm just going to stick with this one. And then we have this sticky pad here as well. It's going to stick the flight controller to the frame, and you can also stick a buzzer on this as well, so I'm going to attempt to do that. I've got this buzzer bag here, but you can buy these buzzers from Banggood for the QX70, so I'm going to try to add one of those as well. Anyway, that's enough talking, let's get and build this thing. So starting off with the motor mounts, just going to take everything out of the bag here. You get given some tiny screws in there as well. And then I'm taking a clockwise motor and feeding that through one of the mounts, and you'll see where the wire feeds through there, keeps it safe. And this is the counterclockwise motor, again just feeding it through, and then those fit in there snug. And we have another clockwise motor, and then the last counterclockwise motor, leaving 2 spare. And I'm taking one of the screws, I'm putting it into the frame and then just lining it up with the motor mounts and then screwing those in. So we've got 3 screws that have to go in there and then just tightening them all up. And you need to do that for all of the motors. So that's the clockwise motor that's got in. So that's the front left. And then that's all of those got in. And you get 2 spare screws left. Quite nice. So I'm taking my favourite tool, which is a pair of pliers with a rubber band around it, and I'm tinning up the micro lossy connector here. And then I'm going to take a micro JST connector for the camera and tin that up as well. Now I'm tinning up the solder pads for the lossy connector, and then in goes the negative and the positive. I'm then going to piggyback the JST connector on there as well, so that's the positive and then the negative there. This is my buzzer, so I'm just fitting that in there. So the longer leg is the positive and the shorter the negative. I'm just going to solder that in there directly, so no wires for this. Then this is the sticky pad that you get with the flight controller. Just going to stick that as neatly on the frame as possible and then place that also as neatly on the frame. And then I'm taking this counterclockwise motor here and cutting it to length. So that was motor 2, that is motor 1, this is motor 3, and then motor 4, just cutting everything to length. Then using my wire stripping tool, saves so much time, this tool does. I'm just going to strip all of these wires here as quickly as possible. Then I'm going to tin up all of the motor pads. So that's motor 1, and this is motor 2, and this is motor 4, and this is motor 3. I've also twisted the wires around here on the motors as well, just to keep them neat, and I'm going to tin all of those up as well. Pardon my shaky hands. It's very difficult doing such miniature soldering and trying to film it at the same time. So just tinning all those up best I can. Wires are very thin, so you have to be careful not to burn the outer casing of the wires. And now I'm soldering in the motors, so I seem to be starting with motor 3 here, so that's the white and the black wire going in. And then here we have motor 4, the blue and the red wire going in. And then this is motor 2, the black wire and the white wire. And then motor 1, the red wire and the blue wire. So now I'm going to use some sellotape to tidy the wires up. Good thing about this frame is that you can wrap tape around there quite easily and it looks pretty neat. So I did that with all of them, just use a screwdriver to fetch it around, and I really like that. Nice neat job. So now I'm putting in the longer standoffs so that there is room for my buzzer to sit underneath there. So you get 2 different sizes. And we've got 3 standoffs there, so 2 at the side, and then 1 at the front. And then I'm taking one of the screws there, and I have pushed it through the camera mount, and then that just screws on to the standoffs there quite nicely. And then the last one at the front. Just tighten everything up. And then removing the sticker on top of the buzzer, otherwise it won't be very loud. Now I'm connecting up the camera to the JST connector so I can remove it if I want to. And finally I have put those spare bands around the camera because it was a little bit loose. Now I'm soldering the jumper to bind it to my Taranis. So go into the bind option there and it'll start chirping away. And you can see where I have jumpered that there, and then plug the battery in. And then we exit the bind mode in the Taranis, unplug the battery and desolder that pad, and then when I connect the battery it is bound. So here is the finished build. I have added some props to it. Now they look like they are rolling spider props. However, they're not. They're the Ishin E40 props. And the reason that I had to use these props is the rolling spider props just kept flying off with the power of these motors. And I think the shaft of the motor is a little bit narrower than normal motors as well, because I had some other 8mm motors and the rolling spider props were fitting much tighter. But these propellers are fantastic and they stay on, they are rock solid, so I'm going to be using these. So time to see how much it weighs. So it's 39 grams without the battery. Then with the 600 milliamp battery from the QX series, it is 54 grams, not bad. So here we are in Betaflight. I have flashed the latest version, which at this date is 3.01. And the version of the board is the SP Racing F3 Evo. If you are interested, do not flash just the standard F3 version, otherwise it will probably brick the flight controller. So I'm just going to take you through some of my settings that I have used, starting with the ports. So for the receiver, I have got serial RX on the UART2 there. Let's go into configuration. So quad X, standard. ESC motor protocol is set to brushed, otherwise when you plug the battery in the motors will start spinning. I've got motor stop turned off so that the motors will spin when the quadcopter's armed. Now the minimum throttle I have got set pretty low, but it seems to be fine with 1026 as the minimum throttle. All of the motors are spinning nicely at that, and then the maximum throttle at 2000 here. So if we just scroll down here, I have got the VBAT enabled, and you can see there that I have adjusted the warning cell voltage, minimum cell voltage, to 3 volts. That is because these one cell batteries, they have a lot of sag in them, and they quite often go below 3.2 volts even when there's plenty of juice still left in them. So it's not really that accurate, the voltage buzzer on this. However, it's really good to use the buzzer as a loss model alarm. So I've set the minimum cell voltage really low here, and it just tends to work and gives me enough time to fly back when it starts going off. When I set it to 3 volts, of course, as soon as the propellers stop moving, the voltage will shoot up to about 3.7 volts anyway, so it's not really dangerous to have the minimum cell voltage this low. So for the receiver mode, I've got it set to RX serial for S-bus, and then S-bus selected down here as well. And then if we just scroll down here, everything here is pretty much standard. And there's no board orientation correction there either, so that's pretty much everything explained on there, I think. So on the failsafe, I've got it set to drop. So if it runs out of range or something, it's just going to fall out the sky. It's the safest option in my opinion. PID tuning. Now, this was an interesting one. So I put my stock PIDs in, and I was getting a fair amount of wiggle on the roll axis. So I have got my P set to 70 for everything, then on the I 50 for everything except the yaw, which is 45. Now the D on the roll I set really high, and you're probably thinking that's too high, but it needed this in order to stop any wiggles from happening. And I still did get a couple of them, but it's very windy out there today, so I'm going to account for the wind causing that, because most of the time I didn't get any wiggles with these settings and it flew really nicely. And I don't have anything else set here. I've got the angle and horizon strength at 50. That's something I quite like. We've got TPA in here as well, but it's not really needed. This is just the stock settings here. So for the receiver, I have got TAER1234. Of course, that is the stock Taranis. And then for my auxiliaries, I have got auxiliary 2 as an arming switch. Auxiliary 1 I have got as my 3-position switch for the modes, and then I've got an auxiliary 3 for the beeper as well, which I have set up. So we'll go into the modes here, and you'll see there that I've got arming on my 2-position switch, we've got angle there on the 3-position switch, then horizon and acro over here, and then if I scroll down here, we've got the loss model alarm there, and that's the sound that makes. And that's pretty much everything. I'll just go into the CLI here so you can see the version that I am using. So there you go, we've got Betaflight 3.01 for the SP Racing F3 Evo. Let's go and do some flying. Okay, let's go for a line of sight flight. I'm going to start off in angle mode and let's arm it. And the first thing I want to do is a punch out. So let's check that out. Wow. That's pretty amazing. Very similar to how a 3-cell brushless quadcopter would fly. That's crazy. These SpinTech motors, fantastic. This thing looks cool. It's a little bit breezy today, but not too bad. Hopefully it will cut through it. Just try that punch out again, it's crazy. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's do some acro. Try and get it close to the camera. Nice snappy rolls. And some nice flips as well. The tune seems pretty good with this one. This thing's fast. There's just so much power with this. It's unusual for a brushed quadcopter. And there's enough power to pull out of maneuvers, so if I want to do a slow flip, then I can, and there's just so much punch. Look at that. No problems at all. This is going to be fun FPV, I think. Oh, I just want to keep flying it because it's so good. This is going to be a good one for practicing line of sight acro. It doesn't matter if I crash it. Try some nose in flips. Not bad. So snappy. I'm really liking these slow backflips, line of sight. Look at that. This is brilliant. So quiet as well. One of the good things about a brushed motor. These props, very impressive as well. Okay, I think I'll come in for a landing and let's go and do some FPV. So here we have the DVR footage from the Fatsharks, and I'm starting with a punch out. This thing has got just so much power for it being a brushed quadcopter. You really could confuse it for being a 3-cell brushless model. That's how it feels to me anyway. Now the first thing that I notice when I put the goggles on is I'm getting a little bit of jello through the FPV feed, and I'm going to put that down to these propellers. You see they give a huge amount of thrust, but they aren't balanced very well, and it's the same with the rolling spider props as well. But I'll take a little bit of jello for the amount of power that this motor and prop combination gives. I think you could put some Hubsan H107D propellers on there and still get enough performance out of them and probably get a little bit less jello as well. But you see, this camera mount that it comes with is flexible, so that's going to be dampening some of the jello. So I don't think that it's a problem with the design of the frame at all. Well, there you go, that is my best brushed micro quadcopter build that I have ever done to date. It is fantastic. I just love the amount of power that it's got. I want to thank Alex and also Jack for hooking me up with the frame, and definitely check out the Spintech motors as well. You could definitely replace them on your QX series RTF quadcopter to get more power out of them. As for the flight time, I know there will be a lot interested in that, and flying around like a maniac here, I was getting a 5-minute flight time with this 600 milliamp battery, which is really impressive. I will put links in the description to all the parts that I used in this build, so I'm going to leave you with some flying. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.